Hello everybody and welcome to DVD Friday. Today I'm featuring a movie that I featured before in one of the horror records, I think, videos. At least if nothing else then maybe in a random records video, because I have the soundtrack to it, and that is Deadtime Stories. One of the reasons I bring the soundtrack up is because this film really, I was shocked to learn. Because years and years and years ago I did some scores for some movies that went direct to video, but they were honestly shot on video because the budgets were so very tiny. So learning that in the 80s people were using the same sort of resources I was, which was actually to master and actually record on 4-track cassette to do a film that was shot on 35mm. That had Scott Valentine in it, which you may remember him from Family Guys, and a pretty funny, pretty amazing sort of mid-budgeter. It was a bigger budget than this, called My Demon Lover. It was a very good movie. If you ever see that movie, you're going to say the words fruit burger for the rest of your life, probably to someone that you're enamored with. Anyway, Deadtime Stories soundtrack was made on 4-track cassette, and that blew my mind because there are a combination of incidental scores and at least 3 different songs in this thing, 2 of which are going to stick with you long after the credits are over. At the end, the opening title credit song called Bedtime Tales is just amazing and fun, and it fits in with any Halloween mixtape. And there's a song in the 3rd segment called Looney Bin that sounds so much like it could have had Lux Interior involved with it that it's unreal. It's not like a Cramps song, but it's got some Cramps elements to it. Our movie itself, the best I can describe it is, what if Prume did Creepshow when they actually had modest budgets, like when they did Toxic Avenger and Class of Nukem High. Because it looks like some money was spent on the thing, and I understand actually less was spent on it than it looks like, so the team behind it actually did a very good job. The first segment in it is Peter and the Witches, and that's the one with Scott Valentine. It's probably a little on the flat side, but has some dynamic special effects and is kind of an original fairy tale. You'll find some humor in there. The second story, I think, is the least interesting of the 3. I guess the film has to kind of start high, and they probably did this not purposefully. They just looked at the stories and which ones are most interesting and decided, we'll sandwich the one in the middle that has the less amount of oomph to it. The middle one being kind of a sexy version of Red Riding Hood. So there are sexploitation elements to this movie too. Be aware, it's an 80s movie. What do you want? So of course that's going to be there, and I'm a big fan of 80s movies, including some sexploitation movies, so I don't mind. Basically, it's modern day setting. Red Riding Hood is the little hottie, and the guy that's the werewolf is trying to make sure that he's chained in the back of a trailer every time the moon comes out so he didn't hurt anybody. And of course something kind of sets that awry, so everything happens that you would expect to happen. The third story is a variation of Goldilocks and the Three Bears, but Goldilocks and the bear family are all humans, and it's modern setting again, and the bear family are escapees from an insane asylum. Goldilocks is a psychopath who has the powers of basically Carrie with telekinesis, and it's played explicitly for humor. Exclusively for humor, and it's very funny, very silly, very well done. Has a cheaper look to it in a way, but it seems like that's intentional. And it's also, while the other ones have a glossier look and more steady shots, this one uses many more setups and a lot of frenetic editing, kind of like early Prume, like you would find some of the editing style that's in it in Toxic Avenger. Some of it is in even the Stuck on You movie that they did, where there's just cut to get all these different reactionary shots and things going on, and it's very amusing and rhythmic the way it's done. The wraparound story is almost the same story as Creepshow in a way, only instead of it being a kid buried in his comics and the father wanting to take the comic away, it's a kid that's worried about a monster either in the closet or under the bed, and the father tells him bedtime tales that are pretty terrifying to try to get him to go to sleep. Where's the logic there? It works really well because it's not necessarily what I call a scary movie. It's a horror picture, yes, but it's the type that I like the most, where more than anything, it's very, very entertaining. So you probably can catch it on Tubi or something. There are discs still floating around out there, and getting a disc of it is something that I'm sure would be a lot of fun to dig into. For a lot of people that are into B and cult movies. The soundtrack is something that those songs, at least those two songs, I think a lot of people that are into this page would really appreciate. And at least one of them, the Bedtime Tales one, is available on YouTube, so you can just check it out with the opening titles by itself. It's catchy, and I guarantee you'll really like it. It's impressive that it was done on 4-track. That soundtrack was almost lost. They had to bake the tapes to make that LP, and the people that were behind it did a really phenomenal job of saving it, and I'm glad that they did, because I really cherish this movie and those songs in it. So here's the trailer for Deadtime Tales. Deadtime Stories, excuse me. Bedtime Tales is the title song, and I hope that you enjoy it, and I hope you actually check it out. See a weird movie today.
In the dead of night, when you're all alone, visions of terror run wild. Only tonight, they will be real, because all the legends of darkness are coming out of the closet. An insanely wicked nightmare, haunted by bizarre creatures carving their way through a maniacal fable, oozing with evil magic and psycho killers.
You're expecting perhaps Janet Lee?
Lost me. Lost me not.
Oh, you now
She lost me!
From the door to your most secret fears, through the terror of a deadly forest, all the way to Grandma's house. Horror is back in style. I'm gonna make this very painful. Now, it's time to say your prayers. When darkness comes, it will be too late, because all your nightmares come to light in Deadtime Stories.
I forgot to mention, back in 2017, Scream Factory did release a Blu-ray. It has deleted scenes, it has an interview and commentary tracks from director Jeff Delman, additional interviews with some of the cast members, of course all the trailers and things, so there are a lot of extras on there. I'm sure they're still around. Happy hunting.